Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Dermot Rogers, and I'm going to be sort of the MC. I'm the kind of liberal priest who's running around doing all kind of strange things and getting in all kind of trouble for doing it. You know, when I arrived today to help celebrate Steve's life, I was thinking that we often have this saying in English that you could tell a person by the company they keep, right? And you're the company he kept. I like that company because when I showed up, the first thing they gave me was a margarita. This is good company. And this is how you celebrate life. The first name Dermot should give it away. I was born and raised in Ireland, so I'm right at home in this environment. You know, it is important to celebrate life. We celebrated faith yesterday in a ceremony at Miramar National Cemetery. It was a moment of quiet reflection, and I think that we should carry that into this moment of celebration of life by just pausing from whatever place we come from and whatever place in faith or spiritual life or religion, whatever path that you walk, the way of truth, the way of goodness, the way of kindness, and the way of peace. Could we just bow our heads in a moment of quiet reflection, go into our hearts, and there address this moment and our feelings toward what's happening here, and ask for an increase in our sense of joy and happiness and peace of mind and spirit. I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. I'm going to make a sort of word salad, if you will. I'm going to ask you if you would, and I'm going to count down from 5 to 0. And I want you to think of just one word that you think from your relationship with Steve captures his essence. The word that relates you best to him. It could be friendship or love or joy or service, whatever that word is. I'm going to count down from 5, and I want you to yell it as loud as you can. Then we're going to stir it up and toss it up. Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Elegant.
Let's stir it up and we throw it.
Alcohol.
Of course, you know, it was the English lady who said that. We Irish we've suffered and endured these people. Now they come to ruin our religious services. I'm going to invite Steve, if you'll please come to read the service.
So, talked with Diane a couple of times this week, and she asked me to either do a prayer or a reading. So I decided to do a reading. But what reading would you do? So I Googled what reading would you do for Steve Tracey, and Ecclesiastes 3 came up, and I'm sure you guys all know it. It's almost 3,000 years old, but you know how lyrical Steve was, so this is, I thought, was pretty good. So it's a time for everything. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born, a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to uproot. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to tear down, and a time to build. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones, and a time to gather them. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to search, and a time to give up. A time to keep, and a time to throw away. A time to be silent, and a time to speak. A time to love, a time to hate. A time for war, and a time for peace. All I want to say is rest in peace, my friend.
Thank you, Steve. Those of us who are of a certain age will remember that song from the Byrds, Turn, Turn, Turn. Those who are laughing are of a certain age. We know you. You're Mark. But you know, from the text itself, that pairing of a time to be born, a time to die, a time to scatter, a time to draw together, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to plant and a time to harvest. It's a kind of a way of calling our human attention to the measurement of time. When is it right for a time for anything? In our culture, in our traditions, we measure time chronologically by the hour, by the minute, and by the microsecond, and by the millisecond, and we've got it down to such an atomic second in some sort of ways. But in other ways, God, in a sense, measures time by the rightness of the moment. And if whoever plant a garden know that all too well, that in some part of the garden where the sun just hits right, and another part of the garden where the sun doesn't get right, or the water, or the soil temperature, or the soil acidity levels aren't quite the same, crops will come up in one area and yet not in another for a little while. And it's measured not by when people say it should happen, or by when the clock says it should happen, but in the rightness of the moment. So as we take this moment of reflection on Steve's life and all of the moments, the magical moments of kairotic time, as it's called, and those wonderful moments of chronological time that you spent with Steve, each of you patched your life to his at a certain time in history and place. And it was for a purpose and for a meaning. And that meaning is now going to be unfolding and unfolding generously to you over the days, the weeks, the months, and even the years to come. I'd like to at this time then invite some speakers who also find their time with Steve, and their time and the way they've measured it in their activities with him and their love for him and the sharing of life with him. So I'm going to have our first speaker, Tyler, to please come forward.
First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for being here today. It means so much to see so many amazing, beautiful people. So many amazing, beautiful people that I've grown up knowing. And we're all here today to honor the memory of the man, the myth, and the legend, my father, Stephen Tracey. Some may recall the notorious party animal who could take a simple get-together and turn it completely on its head. Some may remember him as a go-getter salesman whose charming and magnetic personality could turn a customer into a friend. And of course, many of us will always know him as the musical savant, whose encyclopedic knowledge could tell you not just the name of the song that was playing, but the band who performed it, the name of the album, and the year it was released.
Yeah, and the birthdays of their children.
To me, though, he'll always just be my dad. Growing up, the stories that I heard about my father painted him as an almost mythological figure, which was greatly juxtaposed to the easygoing, mustachioed, and ponytailed gentleman who would pick me up from school, take me to get tacos at Jack in the Box, and promptly fall asleep in his recliner a few short hours later. I mean, Dad's idea of taking me for a fun night out as a kid was giving me $5 and letting me loose in a 99-cent store. Which I absolutely loved, by the way, to make things perfectly clear. There were certain things that we just couldn't do together, but despite limitations, he was still such a fun guy to be around. Always game for a round of chess, a hand of cards, some fascinating documentary, or teaching me how to work on live circuitry around the house. Which in retrospect does seem highly irresponsible, but from a man whose personal motto was, "Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead," what would you expect? Without a doubt, where my old man and I truly connected was music, and to this day, I've yet to meet anyone who holds a candle to his burning passion for it in all its multitude of forms. More times than I can ever recall, we would go back and forth playing songs for each other, hours and hours late into the night, and sure, sometimes he would play something I wasn't crazy about, and in turn, I'd play something for him he wasn't particularly fond of either. But he would always be able to comment on some aspect of it that he enjoyed. His pragmatic approach is by far one of the most important lessons I've ever learned in my life. The notion that all music can be appreciated if you just give it the chance.
Hear, hear.
Dad taught me many other things in his seemingly infinite wisdom, albeit sometimes indirectly. He taught me compassion, patience, and most importantly, how to view things from a perspective different from the norm. And all I can say, in full confidence, I would not be the person I am today if not for his distinctive wisdom, his unique insight, and his uncompromising compassion. Wherever you are out there, Dad, if there's just one thing I could say to you, it's this. Thank you. And shine on, you crazy diamond.
Really close because I'm losing my voice. Hey.
No, we didn't.
We were all fortunate enough to have Steve as our brother. We have him to thank for decades of laughter, our hippie mentalities, and for showing us how music is a soundtrack to optimism. Growing up with Steve gave each of us memories through the years that will stay with us forever. He had the greatest smile, laugh, positive attitude, and a spirit that was the only one of its kind. He showed so much strength. Even his hardest battles were fought wearing a smile that was contagious. Steve was also an amazing father, husband, brother-in-law, uncle, and great-uncle. So many of his qualities and memories he made will be passed down from generation to generation. From our beach parties and camping trips, where we could always be sure to find him strumming his guitar all into the night, to all the weddings, baby showers, graduations he made him all so special, and the list goes on and on. We as a family want to thank Diana and Tyler for their unconditional love, devotion, and compassion they had for our brother through the years. Diana, your calls, your updates gave us the peace of mind we needed and never, ever went unnoticed. So many fond memories would not have been the same if it hadn't been for you and Tyler making these long distance trips out together with Steve. We're eternally grateful and always will be. So, brother, fly with the angels who have gone before you. Your spirit will be with us forever. We love you.
Steve's younger brother, Ted. I'd like to salute Steve, my brother, my father, military men, and all the military men here. Thank you. Second, another achievement Steve and I talked about years ago was how many times we got laid. Steven beat me out 4-1. We actually counted, and I said, geez, dude, really, 100? He goes, and I believed him at 100, so another salute to Steven in his early years. 4-1. Thank you.
25 for you. I'll salute you, General.
My name's Tim. I've known Steve for 36 years, and we were great friends that entire time. I came to San Diego in 1979, but didn't meet Steve until 1984. We were working for different waterbed companies, and many times I'd hear, oh, we were over at the Emporium talking to Steve. And as soon as I heard that, my effort went up that much. And whenever he was working with somebody and they said, oh yeah, we were over at Bo Gentry's talking to Tim, his effort went up that much. And then we both applied for the same job and both got hired. So we're going through our training period. The very first day, we're outside the front of the building having a smoke at 7676 Opportunity Road. And we introduced each other. He's Steve Tracey. I said, whoa, Emporium? He says, yeah. I'm Tim Morena. He says, Bo Gentry? I said, yeah. And that's when it started. And we had an absolutely great relationship for the next 36 years. Never had an argument, agreed on almost anything. When we first started working at this job, then we found out we lived across the street from each other. So we were carpooling. So the first week we're driving my car and he gets in and like Steve, he's looking for the music. Did you hear me okay?
Yeah.
He's looking for the music and he says, where's your music? At the time, cassette tapes were the big music deal. I said, I don't really have any music. If I want to hear it, I just turn on the radio. So I'm not really that much into music. He was astounded that somebody could say that. So about a week later, I'm at his house. And I come in and he says, so, mister, I'm not that into music. Is there anything you want to hear? How about Suite for Flute and Jazz Piano in G minor by John Pierre Rampal? He says, what? Where the hell did that come from, mister? I'm not into music. He had it. We played it.
Very good.
So, and then to go a lot into the future, when he first got serious about spending time in the hospital in 2011 or so, first time I went to see him, his arms were black from here, like that, from all the needles and stuff they've been sticking in him. I'm thinking, man, this is going to last about 8 to 10 days. Well, 9 years later, here we are. He'd be in bed a lot, and he'd be in bed for 3 or 4 days at a time, simply because it hurt less to lay down than it did to stand up. So then he'd be out of bed for 3 or 4 days, and then go back to bed because it hurt less laying down in bed than it did standing up. Rarely missed a party. You know, whatever it took to get him going to get to the party, he would do. In pain all the time. And I would call him and I would know by the way he answered the phone whether we were going to spend time that night or not. And I'd say, you know, you hungry? What have you eaten the last couple of days? No, not much. So I'd go to his favorite Mexican restaurant and get chicken enchiladas for the both of us. And then stop at Dairy Queen and get a chocolate malt for both of us. Both of us diabetic. So then we'd watch movies. Just enjoyed all of our time together. Just, you know, like I said, I agreed on everything. And then these last couple of months, I'm saying this is getting pretty close. But you know, he did everything he possibly could in incredible pain. But he showed up. He was the toughest son of a bitch I ever knew.
Thank you. So before I introduce our final speaker, just a little word that I came to know Steve and Diana just very briefly. My path crossed with them just very, very briefly at my dear friends Susan and Cardell's home for Christmas. I tease her mercilessly because she's English and I'm Irish, but we love each other to bits. That's the truth. But I would like to make a comment that a word that I heard from one of Diana's friends yesterday. I think it's just a beautiful, beautiful phrase. I've never heard this turn of phrase before. I probably will never hear it again. But I think it's such a beautiful thing that her dearest friend said. And I hope you don't mind if I quote you. At the service at the Miramar National Cemetery, her dear friend Elisa looked over and said, "She's beautiful even when she's crying." Isn't that a beautiful way to look and to see, even in their tears, to find beauty. It reminds me of that phrase that you just said, that Tyler said from his dad, that if you listen hard enough, every piece of music will bring you something. If we look hard enough, every experience we have will bring us something. Let's do what the finance speaker just said, show up for those things, show up for the moments, show up for the people, show up for the feelings. Let's hear from Diana.
Also, I just want to let you know that Steve and I like the same clothes all the time. So this is one of his most favorite shirts ever.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hey, I'm going to go through a few bullet points to bring us all up to speed on Steve. Things that maybe we don't know. You know, like Steve was born July 6, 1948. He went to Chula Vista Elementary School. I don't know if it's called Chula Vista Elementary. It's down on Bay Boulevard in Chula Vista. I remember us driving down there, back in the 80s whenever I had a business down there called Western Windshields. He was really proud of it. It's still a beautiful place. Overlooks the bay, just like we're looking at now. Steve was a Cub Scout, Boy Scout. He was part of a group called the Devil Pups. The Devil Pups, we looked it up just a couple nights ago. This is kind of like a boot camp for kids. I mean, like, you're outdoors, you're in the moment. I mean, it was like a workout, you know? I mean, it was Survivor meets, you know, Boy Scouts, right? It was like the next step. Steve was an amazing athlete. He played Pop Warner football. He was an Adagio dancer. And he was competitive, you know. As most of you know, Steve was competitive. And as a dancer, he actually won every event that they competed in, and he actually won a state championship in the state of California. I mean, to win a state championship in the state of California in anything is freaking amazing. I mean, just to see some of the pictures of it, it's just amazing. When he was in high school, he played football. He lettered in gymnastics. Again, the dancing, the gymnastics. He actually graduated from high school at Clayton High School in Concord, California, in the Bay Area. Then in 1968, Stephen joined the U.S. Navy. He's very proud of his service. Well, he should have been. He's an electrical repair engineer. He saw 28 different countries. He is a golden shellback, which means that he was at 0 degrees longitude and 0 degrees latitude. Very hard to do. So he's done that. I remember Steve telling me some stories about the Navy. One of his favorite ones was, it was either in the middle of like a typhoon or hurricane, and the ship's out there, and he's just getting the shit knocked out of it. He's like, we're like this, and like this, and like this. And he said, I finally made my way up to the captain's deck. And I got up there, and I got in the door, and they're all like looking at me like, what the fuck? He said, I just wanted to see the waves hitting the windshields. He was very brave. Very crazy. He also was in 28 different countries while he was in the Navy, and he's also very proud that he made it to 49 total countries in his life. An accomplishment. Okay, let's move on here. Then when he got out of the Navy, he settled in Orange County. He went to Orange Coast Community College. He was a restaurant manager at a place called Captain Jack's on PCH. Yeah. And he got his associate degree there at Orange Coast County. And then he got down to San Diego. That's when he started working for, as many of you well know, Bo Gentry's, and then moved on to Waterbed Emporium. About that time in the early 80s is when Steve and I met. One of the best days of my life, I'll tell you. Steve and I hit it off right from the get-go. He was a person that he encouraged me to come up to Waterbed Emporium and take a look. I remember being at one of the first meetings with Steve was heading up, and I was a potential employee there, and just watching him work his magic and thinking, damn, I don't know if I could ever be that good. He was an amazing salesperson. It taught me an amazing amount of knowledge in the sales world, and also that's when our friendship began. He and Diana were already, together. I was in a condominium right below them. I just moved here. I had nothing. They gave me my first set of silverware, my first plates. It's like, paper plates are fine. Like, no. Steve taught me how to iron. Like, dude, come on, we gotta iron that fucking shirt. I mean, the guy was unbelievable mentor, really. He went on then to work at K-Pro Computers, K-Pop Radio, and then of course he ended up at Cox Communications, where he had an amazing career and an amazing life there, and was a phenomenal place for him to be. And of course he excelled there. Whenever we met, and I mentioned those times in Mission Valley, Steve and I would schedule days off together, go on motorcycle rides, go down to the beach. A bunch of us that are here that were part of the Waterbed Emporium group would end up on, a day off down at the boardwalk, eating some pretty crazy vegetables, doing some really fun things. Yeah. I love Steve because we always took it to the limit, man. We always pushed it as far as we could push it. Our love of music was, of course, together. And one of the things we loved about music is when it was really good, it had to be really loud. And we played it really loud, and we loved it really much. I eventually had to get a motorcycle to keep up with Steve. We'd take a day and just go, fuck it, let's drive over to Tecate, grab a couple tacos. We'd drive out over the old bridge over to Tecate, pull up to a taco stand, kick down our motorcycles, have some tacos, some beers, just drive back to San Diego. Just great days, man, great days. And then we went on to, Steve went on to buy a house in Terrasana, and I soon followed, and we started a family together. It was amazing. Brittany and Tyler. Tyler was born in April. Brittany was born in June. Even then, Steve and I were thinking about. Steve was thinking about, we got to think of really cool names with letters and he came up with Austin, Tyler, Tracey, AT&T. I mean, he was always thinking outside the box, So Brittany, that's why you're Brittany Amber Dawson, because you had to be bad. I mean, we had to go, Oh my God! And then we decided to coach soccer together. Oh, it was so much fun. Seeing Steve out there coaching little 5-year-olds with soccer, and he was right in their element. They loved him. It was absolutely amazing. And also, every big event that was ever going on, every big boxing event, every big concert, everything that was going on, Steve, of course, had the best widescreen, the best audio, and we would all be at the Tracey's. That's where we would all congregate. It was phenomenal. Steve made every party, like we heard, and Steve was an absolute. Loyalty is one of Steve's best traits. I remember back in the 80s, whenever we were, having this conversation, this will describe Steve real quickly, talking about, who would you call if you were broke down on the freeway and had a flat tire? And he looked straight at me and he goes, who would you call? I'd call you. He said, then I'd call you. It's that simple. I mean, that's how we kept it. That's how we thought of everyone here. We all are lucky. All of us truly are better people for knowing Steve Tracey. I'm very proud of that.
Okay. I hope I get through this okay. So I just want to thank everybody for being here and for honoring my husband. And I'm just going to read something because if not, I'm not going to make it through this. So I just want to remind everybody that we're going to have an open mic on the stage inside. After this, we're going to go have some food, some tacos, and which is Steve's favorite food, and our dessert is pineapple upside down cake, which is also his favorite dessert. And I hope you all enjoy that. And so I'm gonna make this really, really brief. I miss him. I miss him way more than I ever thought I would. But he was a fighter. That man. Okay, you guys, those of you who know, we used to call him the cockroach. Because you just couldn't kill him, you know? You just couldn't. He just would just like, you know, oh yeah, I'm gonna have like leukemia. Oh, rare one too. And oh, we can't cure this one, but he lived, and you know, that cockroach kept living. Yeah, and he kept rocking. So, you know, the man was just, yeah, he's our legend. And I have just a little something I want to read, just because we miss him. And I hope that we all, you know, will share a lot of wonderful memories. And I just appreciate every single one of you that are here today. And appreciate all the support and friendship you've given me since he passed. My village is amazing. And I just think it's a lot of it is a reflection of, you know, who he and I were as a couple. Because you guys all out here are just the most amazing people, and I love you all. I really do. So this one's for Steve. He is not gone. He might be on an airplane right now. Wait a minute. You guys getting hungry? I know I am. Okay. So, ease your grief, he is not gone. For in your heart, he lingers on. His smile, his laugh, his special way will comfort you from day to day. You'll feel his presence in the breeze. Wow. That dances gently through the trees. And it's his face that you shall see when you're in need of company. At any time, you can recall the love you shared and saved it all. And in time, more than anything, you'll find peace in remembering. Thank you all for coming.
And to close off our celebration of life in this part of the celebration, as before we go indoors, I'm going to invite now my dear friends Susan and Candela, if you would, come and release some doves and explain the meaning.
All these doves are just for Steve. We are so fed up that he had to leave. Right now, he's up there singing away, and us down here are left to say, it was too soon, our friend, for you to go. You've left us here pretty damn low. No one to drink with, it's not the same. To have fun with, to sing with, and there's no one to blame. I wish, dearest Steve, that you could hear us say, we love you so much every single day. We miss your eyes, your smile, your devilish ways. We just want some hugs and kisses, some smiles and some extra days.